Hello, everybody. This is like challenging role to chair the last panel of today. But let me start with welcoming our honorable speakers in this panel: Alexia Sakadaki, member of the Cyprus Green Party; Charles Ellinas, Councillor, Atlantic Council, welcome; and Andreas Poullikas, professor from the Frederick University, welcome as well. We will be presenting and discussing, I hope so that the time allows us a little bit of a question and discussion about the topic on the energy challenges and the green development and transition. So let me start with a few sentences to introduce the panel. The EU itself is, as we heard already, considering to be competitive but also resilient in this regard, but still facing a number of energy challenges, starting with diversification of its resources, dependency of number of its member states on one source coming from Russia, but also the sustainability of these sources and its impact on environment. Meantime, the European Union and member states committed themselves to international environmental obligations, considering the Paris Agreement, Aarhus Convention, and the EU Green Deal with already more than 170 secondary legislations. In the EU Green Deal, the obligation of just transition with leaving no one behind is perfectly enshrined. For that purpose, plenty actions and programs are already implemented. The establishment of the Just Transition Fund, national environmental and climate plans, social climate fund, but also the EU sanctions on the recent decision to cut on Russia gas is only a few of the spots to highlight. The need for a green and just transition is even more to be required nowadays. I'm honored to give a floor firstly to Alexia to present different perspectives on the topic in this regard. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I hope you have energy because we will be discussing energy, and indeed it's the last panel, so I understand it's difficult. Allow me to say that it's truly an honor to join this important discussion, especially now as Cyprus prepares to help shape Europe's future priorities. The title of our discussion, Energy Challenges and Green Development/Transition, could not be more fitting. As Cyprus prepares to assume the presidency of the Council of the European Union, we do so in a period marked by instability and transformation, geopolitical uncertainty, climate emergency, and economic transition. But with uncertainty comes opportunity, an opportunity to reshape Europe's energy system into one that is secure, affordable, and sustainable, and to align growth with climate neutrality, competitiveness with social fairness, and technology, with democracy. Europe's commitment to becoming the first climate-neutral continent by 2050 is at once ambitious and necessary. Yet, as we know, the road to climate neutrality is neither linear nor simple. It requires structural change in how we produce, consume, and govern energy, and in demands that no one is left behind in this transition. Among member states, we've seen delays in grid development, insufficient investment in building renovation, and political resistance to phasing out fossil fuels. The challenge is not only technological, it is deeply political and democratic. Citizens must feel that the green transition improves their lives, lower bills, cleaner air, better jobs, and stronger communities. Climate change is leading to extreme weather phenomena. In recent years, I think we all felt it, stronger winds, devastating floods, destructive wildfires, especially here in Cyprus and especially in the Mediterranean region, longer and hotter summers, temperatures never experienced before. Rising electricity and fuel prices, combined with low household incomes and poorly insulated homes, lead to a steady increase in the number of people suffering from energy poverty. After the COVID-19 pandemic, economic and social conditions became more difficult. Thus, more people are being affected and suffer from energy poverty. This brings us to the broader European challenge, the so-called energy trilemma, which is how to secure energy that is affordable, reliable, and sustainable at the same time. Security means diversifying our sources, building smarter interconnections, and investing more in domestic renewables and storage. Affordability remains the social fault line of the transition. Over 9% of European households, that's more than 40 million people, now experience energy poverty. But energy poverty is not only about high prices. It is about access. Access to energy that is clean, reliable, and affordable for all. As we celebrate the growth of renewables, we must also ask, who benefits from this transition? Who can afford rooftop solar, energy-sufficient housing, or electric mobility, and who cannot? Across Europe, millions of citizens still live in energy-inefficient homes, depend on fossil fuels for heating, or face disconnections because they cannot pay their bills. This means the transition is not yet fair. In the Green Deal, if the Green Deal is to succeed, and I strongly believe that it has to succeed, and I resisted before in the previous panel, I didn't comment because I will comment here. Every citizen, not only the well-connected or the well-off, must have access to the benefits of clean energy. That means stronger public investment in community renewables, affordable renovation schemes, and targeted support for low-income households. The goal is not only to decarbonize our systems, it is to democratize them. That means putting citizens at the heart of the transition, giving households, cooperatives, and communities the power to shape Europe's clean energy future. Sustainability then demands long-term decarbonization through energy efficiency, clean transport, and a circular approach to materials. The Repower EU strategy was Europe's immediate response to the geopolitical shock of 2022, aiming to end dependency on Russian fossil fuels while accelerating renewable energy and green hydrogen. Today, this strategy must evolve into a structural plan for energy independence and climate resilience across all member states. Despite these efforts and frameworks, the picture across Europe remains uneven. In 23 countries, such as Sweden, attained about 66% of their total energy consumption from renewables, while Denmark reached approximately 45%. By contrast, several member states remain below 20%, underscoring the uneven progress within the Union. Nearly 40% of renewable capacity in the EU is still awaiting approval. And despite growing awareness, listen to this, fossil fuel subsidies persist, a contradiction Europe must urgently resolve. This imbalance reveals that Europe's transition is not merely technical. It is profoundly social and political. It hinges on trust, participation, and shared responsibility. At the heart of the Cyprus Greens vision is a conviction that climate neutrality is Europe's greatest economic opportunity. And again, this contradicts to the previous discussion. I wouldn't mention this, but I really feel that I should mention it, that more than 2,000 European scientists recently reaffirmed this point in their open letter ahead of the European Council, stating that delaying action will cost lives, livelihoods, and Europe's competitiveness. Climate neutrality is not a burden. It is Europe's greatest economic opportunity. It is an opportunity. And we shouldn't count this just according to what we know now. This is what the scientists are saying. Investing in decarbonization can save hundreds of billions of euros in fossil fuels imports, create millions of quality jobs in clean industries. It can cut household energy bills by up to 2/3, and it can strengthen Europe's independence from autocratic energy regimes. The Clean Industrial Deal proposes exactly this, aligning industrial competitiveness with environmental responsibility. It calls for strategic investment in green technologies, simplified access to EU funding, and fair rules for global trade that prevent carbon leakage while upholding human rights. Am I over my time? No?
3 minutes.
The aim is a resilient, decarbonized, and fair European industrial ecosystem, one that reduces emissions while stimulating regions and communities. Europe's transition must extend beyond technology to values and governance. Responsible business and sustainability rules are not bureaucratic obstacles. They are the tools that help us integrate ethics, transparency, and accountability into Europe's economy. I will skip that just to save some time. So leadership requires integrity. The current debate around flexibilities and international carbon credits under the 2040 proposal risks diverting resources away from domestic innovation and green jobs. Outsourcing emission reductions to other countries undermines both our climate integrity and our economic sovereignty. Europe's 2040 target must be achieved domestically through genuine emission cuts and not creative accounting. The coming years must see a stronger social dimension to climate policy. This also means reinforcing the European Social Climate Fund, expanding training and skills for green jobs, and integrating gender and equality perspectives into every climate measure. It also means rethinking fiscal priorities, redirecting fossil fuel subsidies toward efficiency, electrification, and citizen-led renewables. In short, Europe must renew its green social contract, linking environmental ambition to social inclusion, competitiveness, and justice. Cyprus stands at the crossroads of continents and of opportunities. As a small island member state, Cyprus illustrates both the vulnerabilities and the opportunities of the European energy landscape. We are still nearly 90% dependent on imported fossil fuels, one of the highest rates in the EU. Our island's solar potential is among the highest in Europe, yet our fossil dependency remains among the deepest. At the same time, we cannot speak about energy security in our region without addressing the growing nuclear risks in our neighborhood. The Cyprus Greens have consistently opposed the expansion of nuclear energy. Projects such as the Akkuyu nuclear power plant in southern Turkey, located in a highly seismic zone just across the Mediterranean, and the planned nuclear facility on Egypt's northern coast raise serious concerns for the safety and stability of the entire Eastern Mediterranean. Okay, I will finalize. So, the Cypriot presidency could offer a distinct Mediterranean perspective, emphasizing on decentralized energy systems for island regions, regional cooperation on clean technologies and interconnectivity, and biodiversity and ocean protection as pillars of the European Green Deal's external dimension. We must also be honest about the obstacles ahead. Technology exists, financing exists. What too often lacks is political will. As we usually highlight, energy policy is not only about infrastructure, it is also about governance. Europe's energy transition is not only a technical project, it is a moral, social, and political undertaking that defines our generation. Every solar panel, every renovated home, every fair corporate supply chain brings us closer to the Europe we envision, one that is competitive, just, and sustainable. Let us ensure that Europe's next chapter and Cyprus presidency are remembered not for hesitation, but for leadership, solidarity, and vision. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the words from the real roots in this regard. I will move floor to Charles Ellinas from Atlantic Council to present in the incoming 10 minutes his views to the topic, which would be challenge itself.
I will speak about Europe, but also much about what is happening in Cyprus, because that matters as well, despite the urgency to look into what Europe should be doing. We should first resolve our own problems before we go into that. But I'm taking a substantially different view than the previous speaker. Even though the share of renewables in EU's power generation is over 50% now, Europe is experiencing some harsh reality checks, serious reality checks. I mean, the biggest is that the electricity prices in Europe are now 2 to 3 times higher than in the US and China. making European industry uncompetitive to the point that German industry, the driver of Europe's economy until before the crisis, has now shrunk by almost 20%. And it's shrinking because it cannot compete this kind of electricity prices. I hear views that the reason why electricity prices are high is because we have to rely on gas, which is expensive, to supplement renewables. The problem is that renewables cannot stand alone. We cannot have 100% electricity from renewables yet. It might happen in the future, but we need technology that we still don't have. In Europe, the electricity grid infrastructure has become a bottleneck. And to allow renewables to expand, we need to invest 1.4 trillion euros between now and 2040. At a time where Europe hasn't got money to invest, where is the money going to come from? And that's just the grid. Climate change is causing a change in Europe's climate. We have long periods of low wind and reduced sunshine and drought, meaning that we cannot rely on renewables to provide electricity during those times, meaning that Europe has to go back to more gas and coal to supply, I mean, especially since a lot of the electricity in northwestern Europe comes from wind energy in the North Sea. Long periods, which last 2 to 3 months, of low wind speeds, leave no option. They cannot be covered by batteries. Leave no option but to go back to more gas. At the moment, and I'm not excluding the possibility that technologies will come in the future to change that balance. These are only increasing with time. Unfortunately, climate change, which is caused by fossil fuels to a large extent.
Can you speak closer to?
Caused by fossil fuels to a large extent, is affecting the climate, and it's becoming worse with time. So we have a sort of a vicious circle. On the one hand, we want to remove fossil fuels because we want to reduce emissions, but at the same time, we cannot because that climate change is forcing us to go back to renewables. And then we also go back. We are now going to electric vehicles. We're going to data centers, more cooling and more heating because of the high temperatures, and that means more energy that cannot be provided by renewables alone for the reasons I explained. So, and we had also the example of the massive blackout in Spain that became a serious problem, and that led to the conclusion that as a result of the blackout, Europe needs more interconnection, more electricity storage, grid upgrading, and more sophisticated technology to manage the network and strengthen its resilience. These need investment and time. So it's not good just saying that we want to accelerate transition. Is it possible to accelerate transition? How fast can it go? If the systems that make it work are not there yet. And this brings us back into security of supplies. When you go into data centers and AI, you need continuous power 100%. You can't afford downtimes. And even people in their daily lives expect to have 100% power. No power cuts. I mean, remember earlier in the year in Cyprus, we had threats of power cuts and actual power cuts, and the furor that caused. So if we don't balance renewables with fossil fuels and we go one-sided towards renewables, that's the risk we are running, that energy security is not guaranteed. The transition to a decarbonized global economy is behind schedule, because I mean, even Europe, even though Europe is ahead of the other continents, the United States and China are far behind. China is investing into everything. China is investing into renewables. Last year, China built renewables to the extent that 60% of the spending on the renewables globally last year was in China. And yet, China still relies heavily on coal. Almost just under 50% of its electricity comes from coal, and they have no intention of removing that. It's going down slowly, but not to the extent that the targets for 2050 dictate. And in addition to that, it goes back to nuclear. It's building more and more nuclear power plants, but also increases gas utilization and renewables at the same time. And in terms of battery storage, investments in renewable technology, China is way ahead of everybody else. But it's doing that by balancing its energy sources between all, including renewables. These problems were becoming increasingly challenging even before President Trump came into the equation. He's also impacting this transition. In the United States, things are going backwards. And he's having an impact on globally. Like only last week, the new shipping laws were stopped as a result of the position taken by the United States. You might say that when Trump goes, things would come back. Not necessarily. The Americans work on the basis of it's commercially driven. Everything they do is commercially driven, financially driven. So renewables will predominate in the States if they have a financial return. I'm afraid that is not happening. The major banks worldwide have toned down investment in renewables and commitment to renewables because the financial returns are not there. We have major European companies like Ørsted that specializes in wind energy that have almost gone bankrupt because the returns on their investment are not there. So it's a necessity. Companies don't work without producing profits and returns to their shareholders. And renewables are not very good for that. Coupled with these developments, Europe is facing economic challenges, and inevitably more investment in clean energy is now competing with the need to invest in defense. So Europe itself is backtracking on its Green Deal. It's not possible to sustain it at the same level as we were doing before. But let me go a little bit into Cyprus. Have got
1 more minute.
1 minute. I want to talk about Cyprus, but I will say a few things mostly about the problems we are facing that Europe can help us. And that problem is the EEZ delimitation that is causing huge problems here in our part of the world. Turkey and Libya have entered into a memorandum of understanding that has divided the East Med in two. So anything going from south to north has to cross that zone. And Turkey says, no, if you cross my zone, you need to get my permission. So the pipelines, cables, electrical or communication cables have that problem now. Greece has is about to lease new blocks south of Crete, where there are good indications for hydrocarbons. Those blocks, that area is disputed by Turkey and Libya because of this memorandum. So as a result of that, Sakadaki, the Prime Minister of Greece, has asked for a meeting between the five key countries of the East Med that suffer from this problem to discuss it. And so far, the Turkish Foreign Minister Fidan hasn't rejected the idea of a meeting, but hasn't said yes either. This is where Europe can come in the United States to force the issue, to make it happen, to make this meeting happen, to bring these things to the fore, to get a solution to the problem, because it stifles everything. The Great Sea Interconnector that has divided Cyprus in two is one of the major problems it faces is these demands by Turkey because of this memorandum with Libya, and the situation isn't going to get any better. Cyprus on its own and Greece cannot do it. It needs help from outside Europe, and hopefully during the presidency, Cyprus will be able to force the issue from within. Turkey is aspiring to join the SAFE program, the defense program. You cannot have Turkey joining the defense program, gaining in terms militarily, only to use that to stop us from moving forward with our projects in energy and communication and electricity. Thank you.
Thank you very much for outlining also this aspect of the transition and the energy, particularly in Cyprus. And let me give the floor, last but not least speaker, Andreas Poullikas, professor from the Frederick University here in Cyprus. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation. It seems that I'm the last in the row of the speakers, so please stay with me in the following 10 minutes. Well, here is the outline of my presentation. I will first, in a couple of slides, present you the Cyprus electricity system, the characteristics of the isolated, small electricity system of Cyprus, and the solutions to the challenges we are facing, which are heavily related to the European Union decarbonization strategy. Then I have chosen actually 3 research works that we have currently completed, and I will give you some highlights concerning the Cyprus energy transition to hydrogen economy. It is a holistic approach of the energy, water, and transport nexus. And then 2 different studies which concern actually regional collaboration for the climate change targets of the European Union, the sustainable utilization of the Eastern Mediterranean natural gas for hydrogen production, and also the analysis of the IMEC electricity interconnection, which is actually a strategic corridor for the EU decarbonization. Now, first, here I show you actually the existing power generation system in Cyprus, which consists of more than 900 megawatt of photovoltaic systems, 157 megawatt of wind. The wind potential in Cyprus is marginal, actually. That's why we have so low penetration of wind energy, and also 30 megawatt of biomass. The total installed capacity of the conventional technologies, which are mainly using heavy fuel oil and diesel, is almost 1,500 megawatt. And currently, the total installed capacity of renewables in Cyprus is more than 1,000 megawatt, creating actually this high penetration of renewables problems to the system. And we have also the so-called curtailments. Now, the solution to this problem for the isolated system of Cyprus is short-term, medium-term, and long-term. The short-term is to increase the system flexibility. This can be done actually by the introduction of natural gas to the island in order to have flexible technologies, power generation technologies, the use of storage and renewable energy sources for power generation with a large-scale integration of those technologies, of course, and also the promotion of the so-called e-mobility, and especially the protocol V2G, which is a technology, it's a bi-directional flow actually of the electricity between the electric car and the grid. So it is actually, in a sense, a storage technology as well. Now, concerning the medium term and the long term, those are actually based on regional cooperation, which you will see later on. We need to establish electricity interconnection. Cyprus is the only member state which is not interconnected with the internal electricity market of the European Union. And also long-term is the production of hydrogen, using natural gas and renewable energy sources for production. Now, in this holistic approach for Cyprus, the energy water transport nexus, we have actually developed an integrated mathematical model. This is a multi-objective optimization in order to examine this holistic approach. We have simulated actually the Cyprus transition towards the hydrogen economy with focus on the long-term decarbonization, on coordinated investments in renewable energy sources, on electricity interconnections, on hydro infrastructure for power and transport, desalination units, and also some scenarios with small modular reactors as well. Now, I will not go into the mathematics. Let's move on. Well, I will show you two different scenarios. One scenario is the hydrogen economic development of Cyprus only with renewable energy sources. That means expanding the current electricity system of Cyprus with renewable technologies only, and one with renewable technologies and small modular reactors. Now, in this slide here, I show you the scenario with only renewable energy sources. The top right graph represents the energy mix up to 2060. With the blue is the introduction of photovoltaics from 800 in 2025 to 7,000 megawatt in 2060, which is actually the absolute limit of penetrating the photovoltaics in Cyprus due to the land restrictions and also due to the grid availability. Also, with the purple color is the production of electricity with conventional technologies. We observe that we expect with this scenario decarbonization of electricity sector by 2053, generation by 2060 of approximately 15 terawatt hours of electricity, and electricity exports of 1.58 terawatt hours. That means that curtailments are eliminated. Also, on the bottom right graph is the production of hydrogen, green hydrogen from photovoltaics. So the remaining electricity is then used in order to produce green hydrogen. Around 90,000 tons per year by the year of 2060, and penetration in the transport sector of 40,000 tons per year, and of course water production for Cyprus to become autonomy in desalinated water. However, the amount of hydrogen produced is very low. So we have also examined the possibility of introducing small modular reactors as well, which is on the top graph is the yellow color, which with the 7,000 megawatt of photovoltaics, you have introduced approximately 3,000 megawatt of small modular reactors, where actually the decarbonization of electricity sector comes in 2037, not in 2053. And the generation of electricity increases more than twice at almost 40 terawatt hours. And electricity exports again is doubled to almost 4 terawatt hour. The hydrogen production now increases to more than 500,000 tons per year, with penetration in the transport sector of 40%. And of course, one of the question is, okay, what about the cost of producing hydrogen? Today, the cost of producing hydrogen is around $5 to $6 per kilogram. Based on our calculation, we expect decrease of that cost, and by 2060 to reach a cost of $1.78 per kilogram. The cost of hydrogen below $2 per kilogram is a competitive alternative for today prices of natural gas. If you are interested more on this research, you can actually download our Outlook. Now, for the next research brief, here I show you on this table the current discoveries in the southeast Mediterranean region is more than 2,000 BCM. So we have actually developed a mathematical forecasting model in order to examine the possibility of the East Med region to become a major hydrogen production and export hub. We used various mathematics. I will not go into the details. You have also modeled the production of hydrogen using a methane reforming technology with the main aim to economically optimize and maximize the revenues. I will not go again into the mathematics, and this is actually one slide with the results on the results for Cyprus, utilizing the Cyprus natural gas reserves only, and also utilizing the East Med result in total. That means that we need collaboration between the countries within the East Med. Thank you. On the top graph, actually we can see the production of natural gas. With the solid red line is the production in the East Med, and with the blue solid line is the production in Cyprus. With dotted lines are the exports. What we can see is natural gas production increases from 6 billion to 10 billion by 2035 for Cyprus, with 4 billion production of kilograms production of hydrogen, with a total revenue of 18 billions by 2050 dollars. And also in a regional wise, the production can grow from 60 billion cubic meters to 100 billion cubic meters by 2035, with a production of 40 billion kilograms of hydrogen, with a total revenue for the area 247 billion dollars. And let me just close with the IMEC just to 30 seconds, if I may. We have examined the possibility of IMEC to provide green electricity to the European Union. It is possible to have 100% renewable energy corridor with wind capacities of 5 gigawatt of solar and 5 gigawatt of wind in India, UAE, and Saudi Arabia, with an energy flow of around 14 terawatt hours of green electricity to the European Union, with a minimum cost of 4.4 cents per kilowatt hour delivered at the EU borders. And by doing this, Israel, Cyprus, and Greece are becoming strategic hubs for renewable energy to the EU. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And as you saw, we've been a little bit tight, but we get 10 minutes for the discussion because I honor the Aarhus Convention requirement for the engagement with the citizens. So the floor for the questions here, please.
Thank you very much. We have two of the best experts in energy matters. So in relation to both the energy transition and energy security, Mr. Ellinas, you have mentioned, I would like the views of both of you on the future prospects of both the Vasilikos terminal and the GSI. And also, I would like your views on the commercialization of the Cyprus gas, Mr. Poullikas, not just Block 6 Kronos, there are negotiations going on now, but also Aphrodite in relation to the problem with Israel and the unitization agreement.
Thank you. Let's get one more question, and then we will see the over there.
Simple question.
Yeah.
Why hydrogen and not pumped storage hydrogen?
Okay.
So I saw you offer a paper where you concluded that despite the fact that it might slightly increase electricity prices in the short term, there are quite a few benefits. And then again, right now, we have better technologies vis-a-vis desalinate the water before pumping it up. So would that work?
Thank you. So I will give the floor for the response, and then we'll see, pending of the time, whether we can collect more questions.
Thank you. Starting from the last question. Well, pump hydro is one way of storing electricity, of course. But I don't know if you are referring to Cyprus, but in the European Union as a whole. If you are referring to Cyprus, yes, we have performed studies for Cyprus. The main issue with the pump hydro is the way that it works. You need to have an upper lake and a lower lake. And in Cyprus, it is very difficult to have this because you have to actually develop, let's say in the dams in Cyprus, an upper lake or a lower lake, which that means a huge environmental impact. This is the main reason actually why in Cyprus we do not have such a development. Of course, we have applications of pump hydro in Austria, for example, which we have the upper and the lower lakes, and then Austria, it is used actually for as a storage for Europe. Now, concerning the hydrogen, the hydrocarbons utilization for Cyprus, to be honest, I am not involved in any utilization issues. What I can say is that we need a regional collaboration in order to proceed with the development of Cyprus reserves. And this is happening now, actually. Thank you very much.
Yes, I will talk first of all about the Great Sea Interconnector. The greatest problem at the moment is geopolitical. And I said a few things earlier on about the Turkish position and the plea to others to come and help us resolve problems. But I think the restriction now, with the United States showing great interest in the region, mostly because of their interest to export to the region LNG. So there are various visits to Greece and support to Greece. And in doing that, there is also a realization that getting involved in the delimitation of EEZs in the East Med will open up opportunities for the Americans. So they are showing interest. The problem with the interconnector is that the surveys must be completed by the middle of next year at the latest. It must be started by the middle of next year at the latest if we're going to achieve the 2030, 2031 deadline to operate. So that means that these meetings are urgent. They must happen now. If the geopolitical aspect is resolved, then there are some possibilities, and I put the chance of the interconnector going ahead at about 2/3. But I believe it can happen. If they're resolved, it will go ahead with European support. Now let's go to the LNG project at Vasilikos. Unfortunately, that is still lingering, and there is no clear path forward. The consultant that the Ministry of Energy has retained will be reporting next month, end of next month, on what they call the gap analysis, which is looking into how good are the works completed so far at Vasilikos, and how possible is it to complete the project. There has been a twist to that. Today, you had news that Energean and PEC have signed an MOU to import gas from Israel by pipeline for PEC's use, but they are offering it also to EAC. That complicates the issues because splitting the small amount of gas Cyprus needs into two makes both projects very difficult, and the Vasiliko LNG import project even more difficult financially. So we have complications upon complications, and I'm not really hopeful that we'll find a way forward. Aphrodite is still a problem, and the problem is not necessarily the problem with Israel. The problem is the economics of the project. Chevron, the developer, the operator, expects high returns based on their policies. the cost of the project has gone up because we have requested Chevron to add an FPU, a platform over the Aphrodite. At the same time, because of that, the gas price that Egypt pays to Chevron must go up to compensate. The Egyptians are not prepared to do that. So I'm not very hopeful that Aphrodite will move that quickly. At the earliest, at the moment, for Aphrodite to export gas that I hear, the earliest date is 2031, and I can see that going further into the future. So the only prospects in Cyprus, the serious prospects of development in the near future, are the Block 6 gas fields, all of them, not just Kronos, but the other two as well, will follow the same route as Kronos.
Thank you very much. I think we have time for one more question, and I saw they are hand raised.
I think we Professor Poullikas, with the production of renewable energy being so high as you shown in the slides, can we export using the GSI, and have this been modeled? Export export electrical energy to Europe. I mean, has this been factored in the financial model of GSI as well?
Yes. Actually, in one of my slides, I indicated that when using only renewable energy sources, that we have export of electricity as well, not only production of hydrogen. And okay, yes, this was model actually, because in our mind was the GSI interconnector.
So why, I mean, if decarbonization can be achieved by 2037, an operation of the GSI will not come into play until, say, 2030, 31, why do we need the GSI then?
Very good.
Yes, very quickly. We need a mixture of storage and interconnections as well as in the whole world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And with this, we still have a hope, but also the numbers to support the hope in between, and we have to build on the political will to support it as well. So thank you very much for all of your thoughts and the presentation, for all the panelists.